Did you know that an estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown away each year? Yeah, not great for our already struggling environment. That's why I'm so excited to talk about our partner today, Blueland. Blueland is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean you're used to. And the concept is pretty simple. You just fill your reusable bottles with water, drop in the tablets, and wait for them to dissolve. I literally just tried out the laundry tablet, and instead of having to bring my huge container like I normally do down the hall, I just brought the one tablet and my clothes came out so clean, just as clean as normal. I'm fully on board. It just makes my life easier and I'm helping the environment. And the best part, Blueland has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/dateable. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/dateable for 15% off. That's blueland.com/dateable to get 15% off.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating sociologists.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to the Dateable Podcast. Hi, everyone. What kind of talk is it today? I think it's a brunch talk.
Brunch, obviously.
No, dinner talk doesn't have a ring to it at all. Lunch talk, no. It's brunch talk.
Dinner is more formal, right? I feel like brunch is where you dish, where you like really lay it out there. Especially we do like a girlfriend's brunch. I would love to observe like a guy's brunch.
Me too. Me too. How do we infiltrate that? Well, how about you all let us know if you go on regular dude brunches?
Yeah.
What happens at these brunches? We like to know. Because, as soon as we join, it's a different dynamic.
It's a different one. You gotta just record it, be creepy, send it in.
It doesn't matter what kind of brunches you're at. You are hopefully talking about dating, love, relationships, human connection, and maybe our question for this episode, which is, what do you do when you're feeling behind in your love life?
And for more context, at 27, I feel behind in dating. It wasn't until my quarter life crisis that I ever even started dating. I'm also very rejection avoidant due to earlier experiences in my life. How do I build confidence to start dating at this age? I'm terrified of dating apps. Do I just rip the Band-Aid off and get started?
It's so relative, whether you feel on par, behind, ahead. It's so relative to everyone's individual experiences. And I will put it in perspective. I have a friend who was married very young, right after college, and she was married for 20 years and then divorced and had to start over. And while she was married and had kids, everyone was like, oh, you're so ahead. You got life figured out. You're so ahead. You found a marriage that works and you have a family now. Now that she feels like she's quote unquote starting over, she feels extremely behind because she's like, I've never been on an app.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to date as an adult. I think that puts it all in perspective. It's so relative to your own experience, and you shouldn't have to compare with anybody else's timeline.
I feel like this is something we get over and over again, of like, I don't have enough relationship history, or I haven't dated enough. And what is like the right amount? Like ultimately, you just need to find one person that you vibe with, pending you are monogamous and that's what you want. But even if you're not, like, you might need to find a couple people. Like, it doesn't matter what the past is. I truly believe that, like, the relationship that I have, like, for instance, with my partner, it doesn't matter what our pasts were because, like, it's a unique relationship with each other.
Right.
Of course, like, there are relational skills and dating confidence and all that. That's totally valid. First of all, at 27, you are not too young. I feel like I didn't really start dating to around the same too. I think that's actually very normal in today's world, that a lot of us like put dating on the back burner because of just building our careers or education. Like, this is something that we see over and over again, and people all have the same response. Like, oh, I don't have enough experience. I didn't do enough. But what better day to start today. There you go. So yeah, rip that Band-Aid off.
Even though you're not dating or had the experience of dating, listening to this podcast already adds to your dating experience. Listening about other people's experiences and all these expert takes, that already adds to your repertoire of dating. I think it's how you spend the story. Julie and I recently spoke to someone who was in the same boat, and we realized she opened every date with, I don't have much dating experience. Well, if you open a date with that, then it puts you in that box. Oh, she hasn't had much dating experience. But if you spin it in a way that's, oh, I had other priorities in my life, but now I'm really prioritizing my love life and finding a partner, that's different.
Totally.
That's different than saying, I have no experience dating.
Right. And I think ultimately it comes down to relational skills. That's the most important thing. If you've been dating for 20 years and you have no relational skills, it doesn't matter. You are no better dater than someone that is just starting. So I think the fact that, you're here at this podcast, that's a great first step. But also think about like the relationships that you have in your life with friends and family and how you relate to others and how you can strengthen some of that and go on dates. Like this is a great time. I think, everyone has to come to dating with like where they're at and what's good for them, like whether they serial date or they, take it a little slower and really try to hone in on finding that one person. But I think especially if you don't have a lot of experience, it's always great to just meet a variety of people where it's low stakes. Where it's just a meet and greet. You're just trying to meet them. That takes the rejection out a little. Just trying to see what works for you because you are curious. You are just trying to understand dating and yourself. That's all there is to it. So meet people, have fun, or try to have fun with it and don't get too in your head about the rejection side. I know easier said than done, but I think that this is actually like a really good opportunity and definitely not too late.
Not too late. And you can also be honest with the people that you're dating too. It doesn't sound like you're looking for commitment at this time. You're in an experimental phase. It's important to be upfront with that when you're dating. And then people really respect you for communicating that. I'm just in a phase in my life where I just want to get to know as many people as possible, or I really want to get myself out there and exploring the dating world. Say that. Don't be under the guise of, I'm looking for something serious. I'm looking for my person.
Right. I know like people talk a lot of shit about dating apps and how terrible they are and how difficult they are. But I actually think they are a great tool, especially for this purpose, because like in a past life when they didn't exist, it was a lot harder to just get out and meet people. Like even for me, I was using, it wasn't even dating apps. This was pre-Tinder, but I just remember even using Match.com. And it was like the first time in my like adult life that I went on actual dates. Like up until then, it was like, people I met at parties or out at bars. It was just very casual. And I was like, oh, I'm like actually on a drink date, on a dinner date. Like this is fun. This is what dating is. So like if you can take dating apps for that and see the benefit opposed to just like, oh, it's so painful to like find a good person out there. Like you choose what story you're going to listen to.
Ooh, you just got me really excited for this listener. This is like such a fun phase. You get to explore. You get to meet all kinds of different people. You get to try all kinds of different ways of dating. And some of them may be weird. Some of them will push you out of your comfort zone. And that's when you will find more about yourself. I think this is like the best stage of dating when you're dating purely for dating.
Yes.
It's like, oh, no 100%.
Pressure. I know, pressure-free dating.
Just have fun.
You should be our next resident dater.
Yeah, come volunteer.
Okay, well, I do want to get to the part around rejection and just being scared because don't want to diminish that because that is a real part of dating. But before we do, Let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by 310 Nutrition. Okay, be honest. How good are you at hydrating? I personally have a tracker which constantly reminds me that I am not hydrating enough. But now I rely on 310 Nutrition for everything from water hydrators, which make your water delicious and nutritious, to refreshingly healthy lemonade mixes, and they're all in one shakes. Whatever your personal goals may be, from getting hydrated to healthier habits, 310 Nutrition is satisfying, guilt-free, and a helpful tool to whatever goals you have for your health. And we just got these great products from them as a sponsor of the show. And I was immediately drawn to the lemonade mixes because, one, they have no sugar, and two, how refreshing does this sound? My favorite is the blackberry flavor lemonade, which is such a treat. Right now, 310 is celebrating a new year of goals with the code DATEABLE and giving our listeners 50% off, up to $100 off your first order. With so many sample packs, new products, it's really fun and easy to put together an order or start a subscription on products you know you'll use. Go to 310nutrition.com and use the code DATEABLE right now for 50% up to $100 for your first order. That's 310nutrition.com and use the code DATEABLE.
Spring is in the air, and you know what adds an extra spring to my step? Our partners at Via Hemp. Need to chill out after a long day? There's a Via gummy for that. Dealing with anxiety or stress? There's a gummy for that too. Want to set the mood in the bedroom? There's a gummy for that called High Love. Via also carries a wide array of other gummies with and without THC, ranging from 0 to 100 milligrams. I've been struggling to stay focused lately, so I was excited to try out their Flow State gummies. These felt like a good bet to me too, because they were non-psychoactive and THC free. But they definitely delivered, boosting my daily energy and focus. So whether you're a 2 milligram or a 50 milligram user, you can shop through their website for any strength and effects. So head to Via Hemp and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off and one free sample of their award-winning gummies. 21 plus. That's VIIA hemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp.
Want relationship advice from one of the leading experts in the field of couples therapy? Then Reimagining Love is for you. Hosted by one of our favorite guests on Dateable, Dr. Alexandra Solomon. She is a clinical psychologist, couples therapist, professor, and award-winning author. It is your destination for profound, enlightening discussions about love, family, intimacy, and everything in between. But more than that, she gives us the opportunity to reimagine ourselves, our relationships, and our world. So on the show, Dr. Alexandra gives in-depth research-backed takes on topics like dating, jealousy, communication, commitment, personal growth, and features notable guests from the worlds of therapy, academia, and pop culture, such as me and Julie from Dateable, among other people you may have heard of like Esther Perel, Susan Cain, and Emily Nagoski. Her podcast is incredible, definitely worth a listen. We loved being on it, and we love having Dr. Alexandra on our show. So you can find her podcast, Reimagining Love, wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, rejection, the R word. Well, if you've been listening for a while, we love the saying, rejection is just redirection. And if you're in the phase that we're talking about being curious, about just seeing what works for you, then it's not rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about like, how do you think about it? And again, don't want to diminish. Of course, it's painful when someone says like, I don't want to see you again. And you're like, oh, I really thought we had a great time. But it's all part of like the growing and learning that comes from dating. So
yes,
if you can view it like that, like it's only making room for the right person eventually. And I'm using this time to learn. And when I get quote unquote rejected, it's like, you know, clearing it out for me. It's less about you at that point. It's not like something's fundamentally wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like, how can this be part of the process?
Right. Rejection is just a word. If you see it as rejection, yeah, you'll take it personally. But if you see it as information,
yeah,
wow, all of a sudden you're like, I'm equipped with some new information. And if you dare, which we dare all listeners to do, ask for feedback.
Yes.
if you find that someone is not aligned with you after a date, ask them, like, is there any feedback you can give me? I'm really experimenting and getting to know myself in the dating space. I would love to learn more about what you thought of me, or was there anything I did that was interesting to you, or anything that was memorable about me? Like, ask for feedback. That is like, nobody does that. But obviously, for those of you who've been with us for a while, we had a whole show about it called Exit Interview, all about feedback from people you've been out with. So use this newfound energy and openness and curiosity to get some feedback.
And I'm not saying to like listen to Exit Interview to like feel better about yourself because other people get rejected too. But I'm kind of saying that because I feel like when I was in the thick of dating, and this was before Dateable, before any podcast really, it all felt so like I'm the only one where this is happening too.
Yeah.
I felt like alone. Like I felt like there's something flawed with me that I can't make it to the third date with someone. No one else is going through this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we realized that everyone was going through this. So I think by hearing other people's stories too, it makes it less personal because it shows that it's not a fundamental flaw with you. It's just the reality of dating in a world where there's hundreds of people you can be dating at any second.
Yes, like dating is for romance and finding your person. But when you're in this space of connecting, just think about your intention is just to leave the other person better than before you met them.
Yeah.
That's it. Make the interaction great. Bring your A game in terms of like being your most authentic self, making that person feel good after you leave them. That's like the best thing we can do as humans right now is connecting on this positive level and leaving people feeling good.
Yeah. And I think with everything in life, you could always think about what could go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, how could I get rejected? How could this dating app be terrible? Like all of that. But what if you think about what could go right?
Yeah.
I could have fun in the process. I could get to know myself better. I could get to know others better. I can learn what works for me, what doesn't. I can go on some freaking awesome dates and just enjoy the moment, like the flurries and the fun of just like connecting and that first kiss and all the like fun part of dating we somehow forget about.
I know. Dating is so much fun. Most restaurants and bars were designed for dates, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So the world is catering to you right now. Take advantage and go out there and explore all the different places you can go to and do all the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's like the perfect time to just have a good fucking time.
Yeah. You'll miss it eventually. And I'm not saying this like I don't want to be with my partner. I'm not saying that. But I do miss that night that you're just like, what's going to happen tonight?
Yes.
I have no idea. Is the person I meet going to be like my next love? Or is it going to be like a funny story I tell my friends? Like, what is going to happen? It's just more excitement in your life.
It is.
I don't have any excitement in my life anymore.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop. We'll save this for another brunch talk, but I was just listening to someone asking the same question. Like, how do I bring like the first date excitement back into my relationship? And I was with Matthew Hussey and he said,
okay,
observe your partner talking to someone else, not flirting, just like talking to a stranger at a party or event. And it will bring you back to the time when you didn't know them and you're just observing them.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's kind of fun.
I like that.
That's a good idea. We'll save that for another topic.
Yes.
But
side note.
see, like wherever you're at right now, there is someone else wishing they could be in that stage too. They like, everybody wants that excitement back or that novelty of dating back. And when you've been dating forever and you've gone on a million dates, it's hard to have that novelty and excitement back. So really think of it as a privilege of where you are today.
Yeah. And it's a lot to give someone too, of not feeling jaded and not feeling worn down by dating.
Yeah.
Like you almost have like this like naiveness that's coming through. That's like
it's so great
very endearing. I know. I'm like, I want to go back to 27-year-old Julie. So much fun.
I know. 27. I know 27 was a really good age, too.
It was a good age because you're really like starting to come into your own, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's like a big growth area. So use this as growth. Enjoy yourself. You're not starting too late. Don't worry about that.
No. Even if you're listening to this and you're like 57, you're not starting too late either. No one's ever too late. It's just that you just got to start today.
And it's owning your story. Ultimately, that's all that matters anyways.
Love this question. Thanks for your vulnerability and thanks for the rating and review with this question. If you want to get your questions answered right away, give us a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. It really does do us a favor and it helps with our overall perception of our podcast. It's the reviews, when we get new listeners in, the first thing they do is read the reviews. So if you leave us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts, in the body of the review, you can ask the question there. We'll bump up your question to the front of the line. Other ways to ask this question is by emailing us, hello@dateablepodcast.com. You can also just email us to say hi. You don't have to email us with a question. We love hearing from you. Or you can DM us on Instagram @dateablepodcast. That's where you can find us. Or if you run into us, you can ask us a question there, but I can't guarantee that we'll remember. That's all.
And, you could also leave us a review, even if you don't have a question, just for the heck of it.
Yeah, right.
That's
just
always something that can happen. But also Spotify, if you're a Spotify listener, feel free to just give us the rating. Shoot us an email, let us know, because you can't actually physically leave a review there. So we'll honor system. We trust you.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Media Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram @dateablepodcast and visit dateablepodcast.com for access to all the episodes and our premium programs. Also, make sure to subscribe today if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform so you are the first to get all the latest episodes. And most importantly, stay dateable.